Hello and welcome back to the Chelmsford News Show. I'm Tom Christiano. Well, I'm here in the Chelmsford History Room at the Chelmsford Library today because I'm interviewing someone on the select board, Pat Wojtas. She's been on the select board for a long time, which I'll tell you about. And Pat's family has been here for over 100 years here in Chelmsford. So I thought it'd be great to tape in the Chelmsford History Room today. And we'll be talking about her time on the board of selectmen, or now it's called the select board, and why she's running for re-election. So welcome, Pat.
It's good to be here, Tom. Thanks for inviting me.
Thank you, Pat. So you're running for re-election this year, huh, Pat?
I am. My last 3-year term is coming up, so it's time to run again.
And how many years have you been? It's not just 9 years, right? How many years have you been a select person?
It's been about 13 years.
Wow.
So
nice.
Yeah.
And you're not sick of it yet. That's amazing.
Nope, I'm not sick of it yet. No. I mean, I think I learn something new every day, and
Yeah.
you know, I enjoy meeting with people and things like that. So it's good for me.
Yes, yeah. And it keeps you tied to the town and what's going on, and
Right.
and you don't apparently mind meetings, which is a big thing, because not only do you have the select board meetings, but don't you have liaison meetings sometimes?
That's correct. Yeah.
And,
I mean, I don't go to every liaison meeting. If I did, I'd be out every night every night of the month. But
yeah.
but I try to get them periodically and just keep up with what, the different boards and committees that I am liaison to. So.
Wonderful, yeah. Yeah, that's nice. For me, I'm not a meeting person. It's just that's my nature. So I've been a town meeting rep, for 25 years. I gave that up about 5 years ago. I said 25 years is enough. I just couldn't take it anymore, all these meetings. And then I get up at 4 in the morning pretty much. So by the time you get home, it's midnight from a town meeting quite often.
Right.
It just was untenable, you might say. And my cats are the ones that get me up, which is fine. But
I thought maybe they were the ones that didn't like you being out so late.
yeah. Well, it's just that, but if I do get home, get to bed at 12, say, and then get up at 4, which I would do anyway, even if I got home at 12, I would just feel lethargic the next day and just didn't get enough sleep. So 25 years, though, is plenty. And by the way, there's plenty of openings for those who might want to be a town meeting representative. Please let our town clerk know. Go to the town clerk's office and pull papers and run for that position, because there's many openings right now. Our election is coming up in about a month on what, April 5th, is it, something like that?
Right.
So please do that. You could check at the Chelmsford website for how many openings there are in each precinct. So Pat, could you summarize your background and qualifications for us in any way that you would like, as to why we should vote for you again for select person?
Well, I think you already covered a lot of it in this introduction. I have been on the board about 13 years now. Worked with a lot of different other members of the select board. And I think it's good to have some institutional knowledge on the board. I mean, right now we have George Dixon and myself we're about equal as far as time on the board. The other 3 members are relatively new. As you know, Virginia is finishing up her first term. Ken LaFave is in his second term. And Mark Carrata was just elected last year.
Yes.
So I think it's important to have somebody there that kind of knows how things have been worked in the past. Although you also want some new blood periodically too. And before I was on the select board, I served 1 term on the board of library trustees. And like yourself, I've been a town meeting representative, on and off, almost since we implemented that type of government in Chelmsford. So I've always been informed, and lately I've been very much involved, I guess you could say, in the last many years with town government and the way town runs. And I feel like since I get reelected, obviously a lot of the residents must feel some confidence in me, and I definitely appreciate the confidence they have shown in me.
Wonderful, yeah. And your family has been here, as I mentioned earlier, over 100 years, right? And
Correct.
So what was that like, growing up in Chelmsford with a family history? And in fact, you owned farmland, your family did, right? And so what's it like is it being called a townie like that? Because I don't know, but
I don't know. Yeah, I guess Yeah, everybody aspires to be called a townie, but I don't know what the actual criteria is for you to meet that qualification. Yeah, my father grew up on Proctor Road, where the Flying Change stables are. That his uncle had that property, and my father grew up helping his uncle run that farm. So, and then we moved to Concord Road after my father got married, and had some property there. So I've been pretty much in Chelmsford my whole life, except for stints, I was in the Air Force for a few years, and when I was at college at UMass Amherst. But other than that, I pretty much have been here. When I was growing up, it was a small farming community. We had more cows than we did people, like in Vermont.
Wow.
But probably not. I mean, we.
But plenty of cows, though, right? The Emerson farm and other farms.
And plenty of other farms. Dairy farm. Yeah, not just dairy farms, but vegetable farms and like that. So it definitely changed. As you can imagine, with all the developments. But that's progress. It comes with good and bad. So, but I'm okay with it. That's progress, and things will always work out for the best, I think.
Yes, yeah. And speaking of your family, your brother Charlie Wojtas has also been in town his entire life, except when he was in the Navy, and he's living in the home in Concord Road now, the home you grew up in.
Correct. Yeah.
With his wife Joan.
Right.
And he's a member of the Chelmsford Board of Appeals, right?
That's right.
And he's pulled papers to run for town meeting rep again. He had been a rep for many, many years.
Right.
And also on the planning board for about 10 years and a library trustee. So your family has served in the town quite a bit, you and your brother.
Right, yeah,
and
we have. Yeah.
Yes, I know your entire family for doing various things for a long time.
Right, my father was a long time. In fact, people still remind me about it, that my father was the animal control officer from like 1955 until he died in 1979.
Yes,
so,
wow.
And people still remember him picking up their dogs or
That's amazing.
reminding them to license their dogs. So
That's still amazing they remember after all this time. But
yes, right.
Wow. Well, Pat, this question is a little bit longer that I'm going to read because it's a big thing now. There's a huge development that's planned for North Chelmsford. And so it's a proposed development in North Chelmsford by Trammell Crow Residential Development on 255 Princeton Street at the formerly UMass West Campus at a special town meeting scheduled for February 24th, which is, a couple of weeks from now, something like that. 2 warrant articles related to the Alaxon Chelmsford development will be coming up. They'll be up for debate. The first article would approve a zoning overlay district that would permit multifamily housing to be built, so I'll ask you about that. And the second warrant article would approve funding from the town for a portion of the development that will be used for senior housing, for seniors like me. Not that I plan to move. I've been in the same house 45 years, and I plan to stay there forever, so.
Well,
But
it's low income seniors too.
Oh.
So I don't know if you qualify.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
You have too much money in the bank.
Yeah. So the first one is the multifamily housing article. What do you think about that, Pam? Pam.
I think this developer, Trammell Crow, they've done an excellent job in reaching out to the neighbors and the abutters in that area, and they have tried to accommodate any requests that they have made, as far as location of where the buildings would be on the site, as far as landscaping that would block the view, say from neighbors and abutters to the project itself. They've, as you said, we've had quite a few meetings regarding this project, and in a way that's a good thing, because every time they come to us or to the planning board, or they've even met with the sustainability committee, they've met with conservation commission. Every time they come, they make accommodations for whatever group it is that they're meeting with. So in general, I think it's going to be supported at town meeting. We took, the select board, as you know, makes recommendations on all warrant articles for town meetings, and it was a unanimous vote to recommend approval of this this development, or this zoning change to allow the development.
Yeah.
And for the first time that I can recall, the board executed a development agreement with the developer to basically, put in place to I guess you could say, finalize some of the things that they would do to make it a better development, including some impact fees, like for schools, because obviously there's going to be, with a development of that size, there's going to be more kids going to the schools, so they're going to allocate $180,000 towards the schools to really basically use any way they want. To maybe they might have to reconfigure some of the districts for the different schools, because the kids in that area would probably go to Harrington School, but then Harrington School maybe need to shift some other kids to Southwell School or Center School. So this money will be used for that. There's also money, in addition to the part that you talked about, that the Housing Authority is going to have management control over it, where there'll be the 50 some odd units of affordable senior housing. They're also going to provide additional funds for other affordable housing that may be done somewhere else in the town.
Wonderful.
So, I mean, that's just some of the things in this development agreement. I think we did our due diligence on that and tried to come up with whatever things that were reasonable and could be expected for them to be able to make this a better project for the entire town, not just the neighborhood where it is.
Yeah, it sounds like a great project for the entire town, because
Yeah.
I know we've been looking for more affordable housing just because it's needed, not because of any state reg or anything.
Right.
So it's like, what, 50 or something units of affordable senior housing. I think will be a wonderful thing to have for our seniors who are on a fixed budget and don't have tons of money in the bank and need affordable housing.
Right.
This will be a wonderful thing. And it's not like throwing a lot of units in the middle of a very dense neighborhood. Where this UMass campus was, apparently there was a lot of land around there. So from the drawings I've seen, it looks like it's going to be going to have plenty of room for this big development up there.
Right.
And so I think it's wonderful. And if it does, these warrant articles pass, when do you think they'll be able to start constructing this development? Do you have any idea?
I would expect that you would start to see, shovels in the ground, as it were, by the summertime.
Oh, great.
And they intend to do it in stages, so probably the first people might move in, say, a year and a half from now, because they have to, there's a lot of other infrastructure they have to do there. In addition, since, as you probably are aware, that we have the sewer moratorium, so they can't connect to the town sewer, so they have to develop that whole, treatment system on site too. So that takes a little more engineering effort than just,
Yes.
piping into the town sewer.
Yes. Is that town sewer problem ever going to be alleviated, where we're going to be able to hook up again to a sewer system somewhere? Like we used to use Lowell, right, for quite a bit
Well,
of
that's,
something.
yeah, that's right, that's what we do, that's where all of it goes. We're evaluating that, we have, consultants working on that. It's gonna be difficult though, because, nobody wants a sewer treatment system in their own backyard. If we were to build one in Chelmsford, we don't know where it would be. I think Lowell possibly could apply for additional capacity, because they do have additional capacity at their treatment plant, but they're not licensed for it right now. So I think, in fact, I think Congresswoman Trahan is trying to help with that, so that they can increase their capacity, because it's not just us that's going to need it. Lowell's going to need it. Tingsboro also sends up, Tingsboro and part of Tewksbury, I believe, also use that treatment facility. So it's not just us.
Hopefully they'll get that changed then with Lori Trahan, who's, I think, is doing a good job in Congress, by the way. In fact, it's great that Warwick Bridge, she and the federal government helps with a lot of funding come in to redo the Warwick Bridge. I was surprised when I was reading in the Lowell Sun, some of the people who go over the bridge open the windows just in case the bridge collapses and it goes in the water. They'll be able to get out more readily. I never thought of that, putting the windows down as you cross the bridge.
Well, I read that too, and I thought many years ago, or I don't know how many years ago, but cars were made now such that if they went into the water like that, the windows automatically come down.
Oh, that would be good. I haven't
Yeah,
heard that.
Yeah, because it is a safety issue.
Yes. Yeah, so anyway, that'll be great. It's going to take a long time, though, I read, to redo
Right.
the Roy Bridge. Like, it'll be another, 8 years minimum, probably, before it's completed, from what I read, anyway.
Yeah,
It's got a long time.
Yeah.
So, Pat, I understand there's also a proposal for some transportation improvements in Vinyl Square. Is that true? And if so, what's that about?
Okay, well, we have a very energetic committee out of Vinyl Square, the Vinyl Square Strategic Action Plan Implementation Committee, I believe it's called, kind of a long name. And yeah, they've come up with a plan on how to change, some of the driving patterns, I guess you could say, and some of the other improvements that would be beneficial up there. They're working with the Northern Middlesex Council of Governments to try to get some of these implemented, and to get them done correctly and effectively. I don't know a lot of the details about it, or how much will be done, or what the timeline will be for getting it done. But yeah, I mean, like I said, it's a committee that's, they really get out there, and they have a lot of public meetings and a lot of interactive meetings, so they can take, basically, quick minute polls, I guess you could say. Everybody that's dialed in, or even people that are in person at a meeting can vote on what ideas they like best, and kind of prioritize them too, so that they can be sure to address the ones that are going to be most critical to that neighborhood first. So
Nice.
so yeah,
Nice.
it'll be good to see what how it all goes forward and how it looks in a few years.
Yes, yeah. I think it'd be nice at Vinyl Square if just they could beautify it somewhat, with the storefronts in terms of,
Yeah.
I don't know, some different facades and things.
Uh-huh.
I've seen it. Remember in Summer Street many years ago, they redid the facades of all the stores, and it looked
Right.
much, much better than it did before the redevelopment. So I don't know if they could do that, but that would be they're privately owned, all these little
Right, yeah.
storefronts. So
Yeah, that's not really under transportation, but that
Oh,
is
yeah.
under beautification. for
beautification,
sure. Yeah.
yes, is what I'm
Yeah.
always interested in, beauty,
Yeah, right.
Well, Pat, one of the most important things that I keep calling that, but the select board confronts every day, the tax classification question.
Right.
Usually it's towards the end of the year, in November and December, they start making that decision. So what do you think about it? Right now, the select board went to a little bit higher rate for commercial and business tax rates. So it's a little bit higher than residential. Are you okay with that, or would you like to see it go back to parity like it was for many years, where commercial and residential would be equal in terms of the rate itself?
I favor an equal rate, just one rate, and in one, I have a lot of reasons for that. I mean, the businesses typically pay a premium for water service, for sewer service, for stormwater service, and plus, businesses are charged I think it's a misnomer, personal property tax. It's not really personal property, it's the business property, like their desks, their electronic equipment, their furniture. I mean, you and I don't pay that on our homes.
Yes.
So they already have these additional costs, and in addition, some of them, depending on the type of business, might have an annual license fee too.
Yes. Yeah.
And I feel that most of the businesses in Chelmsford are such good partners with the town. If you drive through the center, or in Vinyl Square, or Drum Hill, you'll see some of the banners that are up that the businesses sponsor, and that's how our 4th of July parade is funded, by those sales of those banners. And these businesses just they step up, and year after year after year they'll make donations for that. And that's probably the most visible thing that we see that they're doing for us. But also, they sponsor little league teams. Some of them sponsors like some of the small grass areas that you see, where a landscaper will take that and adopt it basically, and do all the maintenance for it. So I'm thrilled with most of the businesses in our town, and I feel like sometimes they're, you know, somebody said, so people will say, oh, well, a business can raise their prices on their customers in order to pay their taxes, and a homeowner can't do that. Well, that might be true, but on the other hand, if they raise their prices too much, then residents are going to go somewhere else. So I would like to see more fairness with that, and I think the way you do that fairness is to have just a one tax rate. So that's a long answer for.
No, but I agree entirely, Pat. As you know, I tape a lot of these Chelmsford News shows with our local businesses. Why? Because they perform a great service for a community.
Right.
You can't have employees without employers. And we need those businesses here in town, so we'll have work for our people, so the income will come in. They contribute in so many ways. So hopefully, even if it's a little by little, we can get back to parity, which we had for so many years until just like 3 years ago. And it's just not right. I don't even think they get trash pickup by the town, which the residents do,
Correct.
right? So they have to pay extra for that. It's just, and it's very tough to have a business, especially a small business in town. And no matter what we do, we can't find a good, really big break for the small businesses. I've read that sometimes you get a little bit here, but to me it's like meaningless. It's so small. I'd like to see a big break for small businesses in town, because these are like husband and wife or family-owned businesses, or one person owns a business working like 60, 80 hours a week.
Right.
I mean, I would like to give them a break, but because of various laws and things, we can't get it down so much lower than the other commercial properties. But anyway, Pat, if we could move on, because our time is running short already. And one of the things that came up, the town manager, that was an issue that was very prominent here in Chelmsford the last year, 2 years, 3 years. I haven't seen it much in the news lately in terms of Paul Cohen's contract. Could you update us as to what's going on with Paul Cohen? Is his contract in question for the future? So we could update the people?
Well, I mean, I wish I had a good answer for you on that. I mean, as you know, and it's no secret, I think Paul does an excellent job managing the town. I always give him high marks every year when we do his evaluation, and they're all, it's well deserved. I think especially in the past couple of years when we've gone through COVID, you know, that was totally new to everybody, totally unexpected. Things had to be changed just on the fly, and I thought he handled everything very well as far as that goes. I mean, as far as his contract, right now he's working without a contract. I mean, I'm only one vote on the board. I know Paul's wish is to retire from the town of Chelmsford as the Chelmsford town manager, and I wish that we could grant that wish for him.
And how many more years would that entail for him to retire? Did he, like 2 years, 3 years, 5 years?
It's somewhere in the range of 3 to 5 years.
Good.
I don't know exactly right now. So.
Thank you, Pat. Well, speaking of COVID, we in other towns have received something called ARPA funding.
Right.
And I was just wondering, I checked over what the town would be doing with this ARPA funds, and it said we're going to have maybe 2 new hires with this ARPA funding. And a social worker or human services worker in the health department, $200,000 of this ARPA funding might be allocated to that, and another $200,000 for a public health associate. My question is, once this ARPA funding is no longer there, what will happen if we hire these 2 employees?
Okay, I mean, I'll answer those questions, and then I would like to talk about ARPA funding in general a little bit more than that. When we voted to fund those 2 positions, it was with the understanding that after 2 years, we don't know what's going to happen with that. We don't know if we're going to have some more funds. We don't know if we'll need them, those positions anymore. So they were advertised as grant-funded positions, and just for 2 years.
Oh, good.
So
good.
when they're hired, they'll come in with the understanding that the job might end in 2 years.
Good.
Both of those positions and a lot of the items that we funded were for the health and safety of this community, and I think that's critical. You know, $100,000 per year might sound like a lot to you, and that doesn't mean that each of those people are going to get a $100,000 salary. That includes, you know, salary, benefits, probably, you know, whatever, other equipment they might need, laptops and things, and they'll be going out and, they'll be meeting with the residents and with the businesses. I mean, since the pandemic, the health department had just been overwhelmed. Not even just with testing and doing vaccines, but people calling, they'll go to a restaurant or something and they'll see somebody that's not wearing a mask, a server maybe not wearing a mask. So they'll call the health department and they have to go check that out. Or, when we first were allowed to go back into restaurants, you were supposed to have the barriers between, say, a bartender and people sitting at the bar. And so there'd be, concerns about that. And then you have it on the other side, too, with people saying, I don't want to wear a mask. So if I'm required to wear a mask going into this business, I'm not going to do that. And so you have to kind of play it, I don't know, the best way you can, I guess, is that, you have to be somebody that's able to compromise with people. I mean, and as far as the other, a lot of the ARPA funds, we got a little over $10 million allocated to the town. And we have programmed all but about a little over $2 million. And I'm glad we have kept some back, because who knows, maybe we'll want to extend the positions here that you mentioned. But a lot of it has been programmed for buildings, for the HVAC systems, because one thing that COVID has taught us is that we need to have better air circulation within our buildings in order to keep people healthier,
yes,
in order to keep the air circulating and refreshed. So I mean, that was several $1 million right there, because of all the schools we have, and the fire stations, the libraries, all these other public buildings. So I think most of the money that we have allocated is for good services, and that are going to provide benefit for the entire town,
yes,
not just one or two departments or a group of people within town.
Yes, wonderful. Well, geez, we only have a minute left, Pat. I was wondering,
Wow.
a very important topic that is real estate taxes here in town, and I noticed my bill went way up this year, and I'm sure almost every homeowners had the same experience. What could we do to try to reduce the real estate property taxes that homeowners have to pay every year here in Chelmsford, if anything?
Well, I mean, they're probably never going to go down, but one reason why they went up so significantly this year is because of COVID. People, I mean, the real estate market has just exploded, and it's primarily on residential homes.
Yeah.
So the value of your property goes up, your taxes go up, even though you might not be, selling it or doing anything like that. So, and then as the town manager mentions every time he does his budget presentations, the state has been very reluctant to increase local aid in that regard. That would allow us to not have to raise property taxes so close to the levy limit every year.
Yes, I see. Well, Pat, it's been great talking with you. You've been on my other show that I did for 21 years many times. I was like 25 times or something. So this is a similar show, but this one is called Chelmsford News. I've been doing it for about 3 years now. And it was great talking with you, Pat. Good luck with your election. I'm sure you'd like everybody to vote for you, right, on April 5th.
April 5th, yes. Everybody get out and vote, and I would certainly appreciate your checking off my box. I would just want one of your 2 votes.
Yeah, great. Thank you, Pat, and thank you, everybody. And please get out and vote on April 5th. Check your new precincts, because we have 11 precincts now in Chelmsford rather than the 9 that we previously had. It was 9, right, previously?
Right, yeah.
So check them out. Thank you for watching the Chelmsford News. I'm Tom Christiano. Ciao.